everyone. I am super excited to show to you this week of what we have planned. We have notary business, taxation, year-end countdown marathon. And I'm super excited to come every week with an expert, with myself, or with one of my partners to talk to you about taxation in the notary industry, right? How can we reduce our taxes? How can we add value to what we do as an entrepreneur, right? And how can we get better? We often send over our information to a tax preparer, a EA, someone that we trust. But do they really know the best for us? Yes, they're an expert, and I truly believe they are. But the more that you educate yourself, you're going to be nothing but amazing. So, with that being said, I just want to let you know I have a special guest with me. Okay. His name is Everette Wilson. He has a master's degree in uh, business management, right? From Pepperdine University, right? And he is also well knowledge when it comes to finance. He has an emphasis in finance, and he is a licensed assurance agent, right? Who is best to come and tell us how to defer our taxes, right? So I have the pleasure to introducing Everette Wilson. So, Mr. Wilson, introduce yourself to our audience.
Hey everybody, Everette here. Yeah, just been in the industry for 5 years, have my MBA. My emphasis was in finance, and I learned all about how to really just help people with their finances and teach them the proper tools on how to be successful and defer their taxes so they don't have to worry about Uncle Sam when he comes knocking on that door later down the road. Absolutely.
Great. Thank you so much. So tell us a little bit about your background. Your background, such as how did you stumble into finance?
So long story short, I was in one of my undergrad classes at UC Santa Barbara, and I was learning from a lady who my professor used to be in banking. We learned all about Sarbanes-Oxley's rules of order and our law and everything like that. And in that class is where it really sparked my interest about finance, how money works, how to manage it, how to grow it. And I said, okay, that's what I want to do. But I didn't know what that looked like until 7 years after I graduated, where I now worked with a current company that I work with now. We do wealth management, insurance, investments, mutual funds, stocks, bonds, you name it, we can do it, full service for our firm. And the biggest thing I learned here is that people really need our help, especially now in these times when money can be tight. People are relying on government assistance. People aren't planning for their future. Our company is here to help. And that's what really brought me into this industry. It's not just about the 1%. It's about everybody, because we don't care about how much you make. It's about how much money you keep, right? And through our tax strategies, working with your financial professionals, as well as your accountants, your whole team of financial advisors here to help you with your goals, right? You're currently at point A, and we're teaching you how to get to point B. And point B is wherever your vacation home is, where your dreams are, where your goals are, where that early retirement sits, right? You just need to plan and get there, and then we're here to help with that.
That is nothing but amazing. I often get the question, Miss Notary Consultant, Miss Rena, where are other strategies where we can save our money, right? In other words, why not give that money to Uncle Sam, right? And what are other ways that we can manage it as a small business? And what can we do with it? Especially since we're right now in the prime time of closing out our books, right, for the end of the year. What can we do right now? Or if we can't do it right now, what can we do starting fresh in 2022?
Yeah, that is a great question. So there's a multiple different number of accounts that they're available out there to you that you can set up today. It doesn't take rocket science to learn all this stuff. It doesn't take, paying thousands of dollars to sit down with an advisor. All you need to do is book a session with me and we'll do it all complimentary. But before we do all that, we're going to go over some items, some accounts that you can use today to help you with not only your current savings with your current goals, but also how to defer your taxes come tax year. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right. Is everything coming through on your end?
Yes, they can properly see this screen.
Okay, perfect. So obviously, right, save yourself time, money, and taxes. My name is Everette Wilson. The phone number's right here. There's my email address. You can find me at Instagram at Everette K. Wilson. Just click on the link in my bio, and you'll be able to book a session with me and reach out to me on social media and connect with me. So Warren Buffett said, the more you learn, the more you earn, right? So just being aware of your options makes you 1,000 times more prepared for all your goals, lives, and dreams, right? So here's a little bit about my background. MBA, Pepperdine University, financial emphasis, licensed insurance agent for the last 5 years. I work closely with a team of financial advisors that have over 200 years of experience combined, and we have helped thousands of clients just in my short tenure here in the company. Independent agent, and we really are there to make sure that we service our clients' needs. We put our clients first, and it's their goals, their vision. So right off the bat, how to reduce the impact of taxes, how money gets taxed right off the bat, right? Here we go. Tax now, tax later, and tax advantage. These are the 3 ways money gets taxed. So tax now, meaning you're paying whatever your income bracket is this year, that's what you're paying taxes on. So that's your savings accounts and your certificates of deposits. Now, to save yourself on taxes, we've got tax later and tax advantage. With the tax later side, you put your money into these accounts, and what you do is these accounts are set up to where they give you actually a tax break. It reduces your taxable income based on your contribution and your limits, but you're going to have to pay taxes on this money later down the road. Now, say if you have a job, but you're also working your notary business, your 401ks can add to that. That's the company-sponsored IRA. Same tax rules. It's just the contribution limits are different. And then you have your IRAs, which is your individual accounts, which you can set up on your own, as well as index annuities. We'll talk about those later down the road too. Now, the tax advantage side is really how you protect your money against Uncle Sam. Because you put your money in here, you've already paid tax on it. So when you withdraw, as long as you withdraw it according to the guidelines, the money can be withdrawn tax-free. These are your Roth IRAs and your cash accumulation and insurance policies. A lot of people don't know some of these tax advantage vehicles, and we're going to lay them out plain for you here today. All right, so when saving, you want to be sure to consider the effect that taxes can have on your income. So first thing we're going to talk about is banks. This is where your money is stored. Key word here is storage. Your money is meant to sit here and pay for things and leave, right? So you want to have enough money in the bank. Well, obviously, whenever you have income coming in, this is where it goes. It's protected. You get FDIC insurance, $250,000 protected. The best part about it here is it's liquid, it's easily accessible, right? And so when you have a specific goal, as a short-term goal that you need, or maybe say emergency fund, or you're waiting to buy that piece of property with all the income that you've used throughout the years, you want to save that money in a high-yield savings account because it's you're going to need this money instantly. From here, that's where you use your savings, right? And banks can have what we call money market IRAs, and they use those to defer taxes as well. You're not going to get much growth, but you aren't going to get losses here. So that's the biggest portion of banks, right? You get peace of mind, you get safety. You don't get much growth, but it's very liquid.
Wow. So I guess one of the questions is, what is a high yield savings account?
So high yield savings account. So when people put their money in the bank, well, let me ask you a better question. How do banks make money? The answer is they lend your money out to other people and they make interest on that money. Well, high yield savings accounts or savings accounts in general is how banks leverage your money to give out loans, right? So The banks leverage your money. They give people loans for maybe about 4 to 5%, depending on whatever it is for a car, mortgage, credit cards, what have you. And say, okay, the bank says, thank you for letting us use your money. In return, we're going to pay you an interest rate. Now, basic savings accounts give you 0.01%, which is basically pennies on your dollar. High yield savings accounts give you a little bit more, about 0.4 to 0.6, depending on which institution has it. Traditionally, commercial banks that you can find, like brick and mortar banks, give you the lower interest rates. Now, the high yield savings accounts, the ones that give you higher interest, are typically banks that are found online. And you can search, there's really good resources out there from NerdWallet and stuff like that can tell you what are the best rates, right? Which online banks that'll give you the best rates for your dollar. And that's the answer to that question.
Oh, thank you so much. For those that are here, because I think it's very important. I think it's very important for us to really break it down, right? And myself being in accounting, yourself being in finance, we understand, but breaking it down to understand, okay, do I even have a high yield savings account right now? So if I put $1,000 in my account in a month, am I making at least 1% on my money, right? And if I'm not, then what banks are out there? Blue Vine is one, right? That has offered high yield savings account. And there's a couple other banks out there that you want to think about that, right? Although that's not deferred taxation, we're going to get to that, but we're just breaking that down.
Absolutely. Yeah, so banks are literally, remember, banks are for storage, not to grow your money. Now, when you want to start growing your money, you've got some vehicles here at your disposal. And in general, what's inside these vehicles are what we call mutual funds. And so basically, they're a basket of stocks managed by a particular company. They give you great diversification, and they're really for those who don't want to pick individual stocks. So you might have like before I make all these disclaimers, right? This is not investment advice, right? Please consult your financial professional, your financial advisor, on all this information. All right, so you might have a company like Apple or Microsoft or a Facebook or an Amazon, individual stocks. Well, with mutual funds, what the company does is they lump all these companies together in a basket. And they call this a mutual fund. And from here, if any one of those stocks, takes a dip, you got the others to back you up. That's what they mean by diversification. And it also helps diversify and limit some of your risk. Now, based on...
if I'm a notary, how can I... It sounds like there's an uncle. Okay, how can I get access to a mutual fund? I'm self-employed, and I bring in, let's just say, a minimum of $5,000 a month. How can I, as a self-employed, get access to a mutual fund?
So yeah, there's a vast array of resources out there. You can go with a brick and mortar company. You've got Fidelity, you've got TD Ameritrade, whatever company that's out there, your typical brokerage. You can actually access them and talk to them about their actual options on what you can use for your mutual funds, or you can go with what they call a wealth management advisor, like myself, where we actually show you, me and my team will show you exactly what funds might be good for your goals, right? Because if you go onto these regular brokerages, you're not going to know which fund to pick. There's thousands of them out there. The expertise that we provide is we give you guidance on what you want based on your time horizon. Because if you want something that's more safe, we can find something that fits your needs. If you want something a little bit more risky with more growth, we can find something to suit your needs. So and in general, right?
So going back to mutual fund, why putting my money into a mutual fund will help defer my taxes? I don't see the connection, right? I understand it, but I don't see the connection has been defined. Why investing into a mutual fund will help notaries, right? Can you dabble into a little bit that?
Right, absolutely. So mutual funds are the investment vehicle that we put inside the tax deferred accounts. So that's going to be in the next slide, in the next couple of slides. But the mutual funds are what we actually use to grow the money. It's just the investment inside the actual vehicle. Now, the vehicle is what we use to defer the taxes. Does that make sense?
Um, mm, just can you explain a little bit further?
Perfect. All right. So let's do that. Right. So the vehicle, IRA, individual retirement arrangement. This is the one of the vehicles that can actually defer your taxes on the money that grows inside of these accounts. So once you earn it, you have your income tax bracket. From here, in order to reduce that income tax bracket, you have to put the money in particular vehicles. You could donate it, that'll reduce some of your taxes, or you can put it into what we call an IRA, which is an individual retirement agreement. And based on your contributions, will determine how much of your tax you can reduce. And so
No, that
here,
is amazing. I think we hit it on the nail. So I make $50,000 as a notary. So if I do $50,000 divided by for the year, divided by 12, I make about $4,100 a month, right? So I'm hitting
mhm,
like the 4,000, the 5,000 as a notary, right? Well, having $50,000, you're saying I'm going to be in a tax bracket, right? Whatever that tax bracket is, right? I'm going to be at, right? And so now the idea is if I do not want to pay the amount that is taxed at that tax bracket, I got to think of different strategies to defer that tax, right? Or decrease it. And this is a strategy, right? Individual retirement arrangement. I'm pretty sure a lot of people didn't know IRA meant that, right? And I'm so happy that you were able to provide a slide to kind of dive a little bit deeper about this.
absolutely right. And all this information can be found on the irs.gov website. It'll tell you about any type of investment vehicle that's out there and how it relates back to your taxes. Right? So depending on which account that's right for you based on your situation, we'll go through all that information. And so a
Wow.
little bit, just breaking it down a little bit further, right? IRAs, you've got some guidelines here. So there's different types. There's traditional, there's self-employed, and then there's an individual 401k. And then the next week, we're actually gonna have a specialist talking about how you can pay yourself as a business and still defer your taxes, not only on the income of the business, but also on the savings. So stay tuned for that. But in general, the annual contribution limits are between $6,000 and $58,000. Above that, you're no longer able to reduce your taxes based on those contributions. Like I said, right, can deduct contribution based on your income tax bracket and your actual contribution.
No, excellent,
Required.
excellent, excellent. So, I just wanted to actually answer some of these questions that we're getting a lot of back channel questions. So one of
Mhm.
the questions is, do you invest money or pay yourself and invest your personal fund?
Good question, right? So in an individual retirement account, right, mutual funds are inside these accounts. You can really put a whole bunch of stuff in here, IRAs. There's actually some limitation on what you can put in here, but in general, most people put mutual funds inside of these accounts. And inside these mutual funds are the actual investments. So you're actually paying the money that you earn, you're putting that money into an investment that's going to grow for you. The reason why you want to have it invested in the first place is because it gives you more growth than the bank. Yes, you might have some losses some year, but you're going to have more growth than you are losses. So that's how the money is invested in grows for you.
Oh, that was defined definitely, definitely, definitely successfully. We had another question that popped up, and it said, "Is there a limit that you can invest your money, your business money?"
Yes, absolutely. So depending on the type of IRA that you have limits of from 6,000 all the way up to $58,000. So if you make a lot of money, you might want to go into one of those accounts that give you the higher limit. If you don't make that much money during the year, you might want to stick to more towards the traditional side. So the individual 401k has a higher limit, the traditional side has a lower limit, and the self-employed IRA somewhere right in between. So depending on how much money you actually want to save will determine what type of account you open up.
No, beautiful, beautiful, well said. Keep having the questions come through, and we'll love to pause and answer them and get straight to you for those that are listening. But yeah, absolutely. So just a replay in the middle of as we explained. So if I make $50,000 a year from notary income, right? And that's about 4,000 to 5,000 a month. Okay. Well, with that being said, the point is, how do I lower my AGI? How do I lower what I have to pay to Uncle Sam? Right. And you gotta pay Uncle Sam. So if you don't want to pay Uncle Sam what is 50,000 tax bracket, then these are some of the strategies in an IRA. Can you have an IRA being self-employed? Yes, you can. And he's going to dive a little bit deeper in that. So we just went over what an IRA is, and I'm super excited what else he has to offer to us.
Yeah, absolutely. The only caveat with IRAs is they're long-term vehicles. So in order to access this money, it's got to sit there until you're 59 and a half. If you touch this money before then, you're going to have to pay a 10% penalty plus whatever income tax you are in that year. The good thing about it is loans against IRAs don't affect your taxes unless they're not paid back. And the only other thing is required minimum distributions. Uncle Sam's going to get his starting at age 72. At 72, you have to start taking money from this, otherwise there's a heavy penalty.
Oh, wow. 59 years old. So this is a long-term tax saving deferment, right? So
Absolutely.
It's pretty much putting my money away, not paying taxes now on it, right? So deferring my taxes, but being able to access it at 59 years old.
Correct.
Excellent.
So now we have another type of IRA. This is actually the Roth IRA. It's actually named after Delaware Senator William Roth and established by the Taxpayer Relief Act of 1997. The thing about this money is you're using money that you've already paid tax on, and so you're now growing this money tax-free and tax deferred. And so this one has particular guidelines it follows, right? So here, you cannot deduct your contributions to a Roth IRA from your taxes, but if you satisfy these requirements, qualified distributions are tax-free. So the money that you put in here can grow tax-free and can be withdrawn tax-free. And so you can make contributions, right, to your Roth IRA after you reach age 70 and a half. So you can still keep putting money in here regardless of your age, right? It still has that 59 and a half rule before you can touch it, but that is only limited to the growth. You can touch what you put in, your contribution, as long as it doesn't exceed the growth that you put in there. Otherwise, you have to pay tax on, the growth that you took out. And also, you can leave amounts in your Roth IRA as long as you live. There are no RMDs.
What is RMD?
Right, I'm glad you asked. Required minimum distribution. So as an IRA has Uncle Sam makes you take your money at 72, otherwise there's penalties. Here in a Roth IRA, there are no penalties.
Excellent. We had a question going in just for further clarification. So for further clarification, Dr. Sharp said, but you pay the taxes before you deposit to the Roth. Mr. Wilson, are you still there?
I'm here. Are you there?
Yes. So there was a question, but you paid the taxes before you deposit to the Roth.
Absolutely. So like I said, right, you have to pay taxes on the money that grows, This just limits how much you have to pay tax once you start growing it. Does that make sense?
So break that down a little bit further for those that didn't capture it the first time.
Got it. So in general, when you make money, you have to pay taxes on the money. That's just how the tax code works. In order to reduce your taxes, you may not, in a Roth IRA, it's not designed to reduce it based on what you contribute to it, but it's designed to reduce your taxes on your growth of your money. Now, most millionaires make their money over time being consistent, putting into an account that's lasting them for over 30 plus years. That growth in the money is significantly more than what their income generates. And so the question is, would you rather pay tax on everything or pay the tax on everything? Would you rather pay the tax on everything that grows? Would you rather pay the tax on nothing? The answer is nothing.
Say that one more time. Would you like to pay taxes on everything?
Would you like to pay taxes? Right. Would you like to pay taxes on 100% of your money that you're growing, or would you like to pay taxes on none of it?
Okay, that's well said.
And so with Roth IRAs, you have contribution limits here. It's $6,000. If you're age 50 and older, it's $7,000. And there's income caps. Right? They just increased the cap in 2021. They're probably going to do it again in 2022, right? We don't know those numbers yet. But currently, if you're single making $137,000, you cannot contribute to a Roth. You make too much money. You make too much money to play within those limits that Congress has set. And if you're married, making over a combined income of $200,000, you can't contribute. You make too much money. And again, right, mutual funds are the investment vehicle that you can put inside of your Roth IRA. Unless you wanted to, work your individual stocks and you want to monitor it, right? It's just a simple, easy way for you to not think about it and still have your money grow.
No, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. What else do you have for us, Mr. Wilson?
I'm glad you asked, and here's where my specialty lies: cash value life insurance. So here, most people think
your screen is moving. We still see Roth IRA.
Let me go ahead and stop sharing. I'm going to share it again. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Perfect. Cash value life insurance. So most people think that when you purchase life insurance, only your family gets the benefit when you pass away. Not true. If you're in the right account, you can get so much more value out of it than you realize. With permanent life insurance, you can actually grow your money on a tax-deferred basis and actually take tax-free withdrawals from these accounts. As long as you stay within the guidelines and follow the parameters that the account is set up, you are destined for success. And so there's different types. There's different types of permanent life insurance: whole life, index universal life, and variable universal life. Don't have a lot of time to go into each detail, but each one has a specific purpose and a specific design to it. So based on your goals and outcome, we can design a plan that works best for you. And so here, right, you've got tax-deferred growth and tax-free withdrawals if guidelines are followed. Now, why would one get cash value life insurance over an IRA or a Roth IRA? Well, here, in these accounts, mutual funds inside these accounts, right, mirrors the stock market or tracks it like an index. So as the stock market goes up and down, left and right, sideways, it doesn't really matter what happens with the market because what you're investing in mirrors the market. And so when the market goes up, you participate in those gains. the market takes a dip, based on how the account structures and set up, we actually lock in your gains so you don't participate in the downside. It actually holds your money and then credits you when the market starts to increase. So we really stair step you to success. And based on these guidelines, right? That's how we have your money grow, because you play within a bound. And it really makes sure that your money grows without all of the fluctuations of the market. You won't have to worry about your account dropping 40% in a year, because we have what we call a floor where your money doesn't go below. And in some cases, we still give you a credit even though the market takes a dip. And really, this is how people are setting up what we call their family banks, where they're using their life insurance policies to take tax-free withdrawals from, instead of taking it from the bank, but they have to pay the bank interest. They pay themselves back with interest. So now
Hold on. What are you saying? Repeat that, please.
I'm saying you can set yourself up your own bank through the power of life insurance. Instead of using the bank, as you grow your life insurance account, you can take tax-free withdrawals from your life insurance account and still have life insurance and pay for whatever you needed to.
Tax-free, deferred
money.
Money that I put away, can't really have access to it till I'm 59. But you're saying there's products out there that has kind of really studied the IRS guidelines and regulations, and I can take money out. So as a notary, I put money in to save it, to mirror the stock market. So I have a ceiling and I have a floor, right? But you're saying I can also pull it out.
Correct. Now, I noticed you said that you have to wait till 59 and a half. Not true. Within life insurance, within these permanent policy plans, there's no 59 and a half rule, meaning you can access these funds before 59 and a half.
Hold on. We're getting a lot of things like, wow, like this is good information. And let's just clarify, is this only on a whole policy, a whole life policy?
So no, there are multiple permanent life insurance policies that give you this value. Whole life is just one of them. Indexed universal life is another. Variable universal life is another one. So whole life is generally, you pay for the policy your entire life, your whole life, and its growth is based on whatever the company returns do. No, right? That's generally how it works. Indexed universal life is based on a stock market index. Could be the S&P 500. It could be, a world stock index. And generally, you'll get much better growth inside these plans, as well as variable universal life, where now you actually have sub-accounts that are invested in the actual market, and you can get high growth here, but you can also take a loss here. With whole life and with whole life and index universal life, you don't take a loss there. There's no, it's structured to where you don't lose.
Okay, so let's break that down and whole entire another level. So you're saying I'm not restricted to a whole life policy where I can take my notary money, put it aside, put it in a whole life retirement plan. It's going to, one, lower my AGI for me paying taxes up front. And then you're saying it's not like an IRA or it's not like an IRA, but you're saying I'm getting protection, but then I can also pull my money back out. And I don't have the restrictions as an IRA to wait to 50.
Correct. So here, when you put your money in here, it acts just like the Roth IRA, where you don't get a tax break or a tax reduction for your money when you put the money in, but it saves you on the growth.
Okay, so break that down a little bit.
Right, so just like the Roth IRA, because you've already paid tax on this money, when you pull it out, it's not double taxed. It grows tax deferred and can be withdrawn tax-free, as long as you stay within the guidelines.
Oh, so it grows tax deferred. Oh, that's the secret, you guys. Okay, I'm super excited. So this
Absolutely.
is a cash value life insurance plan.
Correct.
All right. What else do you have up your sleeve? We're getting super excited as more and more we dabble into this.
Absolutely. Right. So another thing here, just really finishing out, right? There's no contribution limits. Each individual policy has a limit, but once you reach the limit inside that policy, you can just open up another one. So there's no limit to how much you can put inside of life insurance. And the biggest thing here is market downside protection. When the stock market is going left and right, crashing up, down, whatever, your account's still going to do its thing and be steady, reliable growth long term.
Okay. I think that was one of the most amazing things, as much as I know being a corporate accountant, about money, about tax, about just finance, right? One of the things that I really liked about this is that, hey, I can make sure my money is protected, right? Being in the stocks is great. Those do win and those do lose, right? But putting your money in a life insurance policy that can do the same, mirror the stock market, it's pretty much there's a ceiling and there's a floor. So I'm protected. What that means is I cannot overachieve this number and I cannot reach the negative. I hope that I explained that a little bit. Can you break that down like really, really much so that this is like 101 that maybe it wasn't very clear?
Right. So I'm pretty sure everybody's familiar with bowling, right? Some of the bowlers who aren't that good, they request bumpers. Okay. So when the bowling alley puts up bumpers, that means your bowling ball, in this case, your money cannot go into the negative or the zero. What happens is, as you put your money into these accounts, you get credits based on whatever the market did that year. If the market did zero, no credit. If the market did, 10, 5, whatever, you get the credit. Some accounts inside of these plans are uncapped. So you still have the unlimited growth potential that the stock market has. You're just not subject to the same cap. It's structured differently, but it still works in the same manner.
So you're saying in the analogy of a bowling ball. So I'm rolling a bowling ball down the alley, right? You're saying if I have bumpers, I can go left, I can go right, but I'm still protected because it's going to reach my ultimate goal.
Absolutely.
Okay. And you're saying some of these plans have no cap. They have no ceiling. You can have potential growth, but you can never go below it. And that's the difference from stocks. And that's the difference from a life insurance plan that has cash value that pretty much mirrors the stock market, right? But at the same time, it's not in the stock market because it's backed by life insurance regulations.
That's right.
Oh,
and the biggest difference is between the two.
Mm-hmm. We got a couple questions coming in. One of the questions is, if you are 50 years old, what type of policy do you recommend?
That's a really good question. So it really depends on your goals and what your budget is. Because obviously, the older you are, the more expensive life insurance gets. But we work with dozens of companies to figure out which one is best suited for you. Because some are really suited for when you're a baby. Some are really suited for when you're early career. Some are really suited for when you're late career, close to retirement. And each one has its advantages. Each one has costs that are lower than others. So you can really find a plan that really suits your needs based on, one, your budget, and two, your outcome.
So what type of policy? Can you just kind of give us a glimpse? Like, I love when we're able to narrow it down. Like, can you give us like maybe two policy and not just the limit? So if you're 50 years old, what are two policy that they can walk away with and just kind of look up?
Right. So if you're 50 years old and you still want permanent coverage and you still want some of the cash value growth and all that good stuff, right? If you're 50 years old and you don't have a large budget, we can set you up with something more like a whole life policy structured differently to more like it's a final expense package. To one, you still get the growth. It's less life insurance in terms of what your family receives, but it still gives you the benefits of that growth inside the policy. It's not designed for it, but you have permanent protection in case something happens to you and your family.
Okay.
Now,
And
on the
what would
flip
be the other one?
side, now on the flip side, if you have a little bit more budget, now you can put something into like an index universal life where you can start to take advantage of some more of the growth. You can have a higher policy value, which is the base value amount on what's left to your family, but you also have access to more growth inside the policy because now you're putting in a larger amount. The more you put in, the more you get back.
Wow. No, that's good. And then I think we have another question, if you don't mind. It said, so let me get that right. If you make too much, you can only put up 6 to 7 if you are over 50, but you can't contribute past the amount. Still a big unclear.
Not true. In cash value life insurance, there's no limit to how much you can put in. This does not follow the same rules as an IRA because it's not an IRA. It's cash value life insurance. It actually follows the Internal Revenue Code 7702, Section A. And that says, right, that's the guidelines for how life insurance cash value grows, inside of a life insurance policy.
Can you repeat that one more time? The regulation, IRS Code 7702, Section A?
That's right. And that's the guidelines of how life insurance works, on how the money grows and how the money gets distributed, right? Because when you pass away, your heirs get all the money that's inside of the life insurance policy if it's structured correctly. Well, depending on the type of account, the money that goes to your heirs is actually tax-free. So it creates an immediate tax-free estate to your family when you do pass away.
Okay. So it was a little bit of clarification. So her question, right, was directed to a Roth IRA.
Got it.
It says, I meant Roth IRA. So just making clarification. So let's kind of replay.
Yeah.
So hold on, let me say. So let me get this right. If you just make too much, you can only put in 6 to 7,000 if you're 50 years old in a Roth IRA. You can't contribute past that amount.
So if you're over 50, you can contribute up to 7,000. They give you some leeway on how much you can put into these accounts when you're older. Now, every couple of years, they try and increase that limit because in 2020 it was 5,000. So in 2021 it was 6,000, and then now next 2022 could be higher. We just don't know yet. But also, our current administration wants to actually tax Roth IRAs more. They want to actually be able to tax Roth IRAs. At the same time, they already increased the contribution limits that you can put inside of a cash value life insurance. So they actually made it more valuable for you to get a cash value life insurance today.
Wow, that's deep. They made it more. They made it more possible for cash value life insurance to be possible. I think this is great information. And I want to know, do you have any more for us?
Last thing I have for you is what we call annuities. They follow the same rules that IRAs follow. They can defer your taxes up to the contribution of the limits, right? But here it's got some differences, right? So with an annuity, you can actually roll over an existing IRA or bank account or what have you without a taxable event. Meaning, if you have money sitting somewhere and you don't want to pay taxes on it just yet, you can roll it into an annuity and still get the value that annuity provides. Don't want to pay taxes on it just yet. And so they're designed for large single premiums over $10,000. Meaning you just basically dump a bunch of money in. And the great thing about this is, depending on the account, there's a possible signing bonus. Meaning, if you had some losses in your previous years, Putting your money into these accounts is an instant bump. Sometimes it'll be 10%, 20%. It depends on the account and when they offer that actual bonus. So it really depends on what's available at the time. It changes all the time. And the best part about annuities is tax deferred growth. You have downside protection and you still have decent growth. With annuities, you don't get the market growth, right? You get something that's a little less, but it's still decent. It still can be double digits. It just depends on how the account is structured and what accounts we put you in. Also, it can create a lifetime stream of income. The annuity really just means when you annuitize your funds, that just means you're going to get a scheduled payment stream every year for the rest of your life. And in some cases, that payment stream can increase. And that's based on the contract that you set with the company. That's what an annuity is, and that's what it does.
So I guess my question is, I'm 31 years old, and I just became a notary public. Would I get an annuity?
Generally, annuities, you can get one. Some accounts, they won't let you do it until you're 35 because they're really based on long-term vehicles. It's really a long-term thing here. It's got to stay in here for, as I think we have some that are 3 years minimum, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. And so the growth in here, if you're too young, can be best inside of a different account. This is more for people who really want protection from the market, or they're near or closer to retirement. I say probably better suited to somebody who's 40 and a little older, just because they're closer to retirement. They may not have the time for the market to rebound, but inside these accounts, you still have that massive growth, and it turns your money into a lifetime stream of income as well.
Absolutely.
So it's really based on what your outcome is. If you don't like market fluctuations, annuities are great.
No, perfect. So annuities is great if you're only thinking about long term. So a lot of the situation is because of baby bloomers, nothing wrong with baby bloomers, but because of baby bloomers, during the time we didn't know up until now that the Social Security would potentially run out. Right? And so it's not promised to someone like myself being 30 years old, right? I have to wait until I believe I'm 63 or 62 before I can tap into my Social Security. So how do you get Social Security? Well, the 15.3% that we have to pay as self-employment tax, that's part of that 15.3 that we're paying into, which is our Social Security, right? Because all the money that we receive as a notary, right, are not taxed. So when we opt into paying some portion of the tax, it get divided into that percentage, right? And so, but it's not promised, right? It's not promised at all. Because they miscalculated, like there was so many people in the world during that time that it's possibly running out. So what I mean by that, anyone that is my age, 35 and low, we have to make sure that we have another plan, right? Because nothing is guaranteed, right? Especially if we plan on being a self-employed for 20 plus years, right? We can't count what our numbers look like. So coming into wealth management, coming into life insurance, coming into putting your money and deferring it now, right, to have something later, is more so the ultimate notary quest for this segment, right? And I hope that we were able to kind of bring it all in full circle, right? To understand why is this an important conversation to talk about. We talk about often how to make the money, how to get and grow the money, right? But we never really talk about in the concept of how to save the money, how to defer the money, and what can I do now to prepare me for later, right? How can I not make those mistakes that most people do, right? Especially it's like, I may not want to always live on a fixed income. I want to have more out of life at that age, right? So I'm super excited. This was an amazing conversation. I am super excited. We were able to talk about some really great things: cash value, life insurance plan, annuities. We were able to talk about what is an IRA, what is high yield interest, to kind of bring it full circle. We need to really prepare, exactly prepare for the future, because the future is never actually given to us, right? So I say all of that to say, we have a couple more questions coming in. One of the questions was, how do we find more about getting one of these 50 policies? Are you doing consultation? So I have put it in the chat. His contact information is right here. It shows you his booking system, and then also his his information is on the screen. Okay, write that down. Call him, email him. But I'll actually go to his link tree. So let me just pull up the link tree and see what we gather from there. Okay, and what that looks like. Okay, and then okay, so this is what we have. We have his website, we have his join the team, and we also have his need assistance. You would just book a call with him based off of that. Okay. And he has some available if you want to talk about it a little bit more further, right? On his LinkedIn, and visit his website, right? To kind of bring more information back to what he has to offer. Okay. So this was nothing but amazing, and I am so happy to have you come on, talk about something that very important to us, right? That we don't often get. So let's just go with the last following questions, okay? We have a question said, I'm still trying to understand if one person earns more than their spouse, that they can roll over a certain amount for both combined.
Yeah, so the rollover amount, it's based on what one individual account is. So if you guys, as spouses, right, combine your income and have one account, so you have one IRA, then you can roll that IRA over. If you have your money separate, like if it's only your IRA versus his IRA, well, then you have to, do them separately. So it just depends on, what you're looking for, and then we can go over a certain plan for you, right, to make sure it's what you want. Because there's different ways we can structure, right, too. So if you wanted to, sell some and then do some things, we can work with a plan to figure out, how do we set up this, that so it'll suit your guys' needs. But
No,
in general,
absolutely.
yeah, in general, it still has to follow some of the guidelines, but for rollover specifically, you've got some more leeway.
And for those of you that just want further information, go check it out yourself. Everything that we discussed, IRS 7702, Section A, read a little bit, educate yourself on it, give Mr. Wilson a call, text him, email him, book a schedule on his calendar, which is one of the best ways. I think exactly what Miss Edwards said. We need to prepare for the future. And that's what Miss Renee is just doing, helping you prepare through tax, Notary Business Tax Marathon, to just listen a little bit, get prepared. If this fits you now, that's great. If it fits you in the future, but just continue to learn as you're being a business owner. Okay. We got a lot of Mr. Wilson. thank you, great information. They said thank you for reaching. They're reaching out. They're saying that, oh my God, this is great stuff. They need some popcorn. This is just thank you. Wow, this information is good. This is actually needed. So, job well done, and thank you so much for just being an asset to us. Because you didn't have to come on to the show, but I'm so grateful that you did because we are a unique type of breed. But don't ever forget that we're not making money, right? We can bring in a
Right.
lot of money, but we need to figure out what we're going to do with that money.
Right.
Yeah, thank you so much. So until next time, you guys, share some love with him in the comments, and I hope that you can replay it. All right. And a couple people saying that they are scheduling a consultation. So that's nothing but amazing. All right. Until next time, I'll see you next week. And we're going to talk about, guess what? Everybody want to talk about is home-based offices, right? We are bringing in an expert that's going to bring into us the red flags of having a home-based office for your notary business. How do you really write it out, right? And also in general. So just for you, I'll see you this time next week. If not, I'm going to also see you in Clubhouse on Wednesdays at 3 a.m. Pacific Standard Time or Eastern Time. And lastly, don't forget to get your ticket for the Ultimate Notary Conference, June 18 and 19 in Northford, Virginia. For continued knowledge, we bring it to you for nothing but a fee. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Take care.